1979 Camp David peace accords turned out to be one of the most important diplomatic moves in Israel's history. Egypt had been Israel's most formidable enemy. The two had gone to war 5 times. But the peace treaty ensured that Israel would no longer face another regional war. A cold peace endured, but one that allowed for economic, diplomatic, and security ties to develop. Now the revolution in Egypt has many wondering if that peace treaty will endure in the future. I sat down today with Tzvi Mazel, a former Israeli ambassador to Egypt, and asked him if ties between the two countries have already changed.
There is a problem. Absolutely there is a problem. Egypt is now in a state of instability. Radical forces that had been oppressed under Mubarak now are released. It's a fact. Muslim Brothers, extremist nationalistic forces. And one should say and mention and underline, there are no liberal forces in Egypt. There are no forces of the center, right or left. There is no liberal tradition in Arab country. It doesn't exist. So what we see now is a kind of a competition between radical forces, nationalistic and Islamic forces. Every side would like to take the power when the election comes, you see. So it's a new situation in Egypt, absolutely. You are absolutely right. We cannot know, we don't know exactly what will be the result in the coming year. We hope there will be elections, and we hope there will be kind of democracy, more freedom, we hope, but we don't know, because the forces in the political arena are all of them radical extremists. Now, Israel, the peace is still there, and I think that if I remember well, the military committee that governs Egypt said on few occasions that it will continue with the international engagement and yeah, absolutely. So they are going to keep peace, and why not? But still there are problems, as we saw in the street. There are a lot of problems, and the military council has a tendency to give in.
For days now, we've seen protests outside the Israeli embassy in Cairo. Is anti-Israel sentiment growing, or has it always been there?
Unfortunately, there is a lot of hatred against Israel. And I would dare say even that the only things that unite now the different political forces, is the hatred against Israel, and this is very bad. I'm not saying that the Egyptians are going to cancel the peace treaty. Absolutely not. After 30 years of peace, you don't do it easily. I mean, and then what is still, I hope, the objective of the revolution, to better life, to change life, right? And maybe to reach democracy.
So you think there's no chance that the peace treaty is going to break down between Israel and Egypt? For the short term, it's stable.
If you look very carefully on the declaration the last 4 or 5 months, they say, yes, we have to change the peace treaty, but we don't want to cancel it, because they are also afraid of canceling completely the peace. What does it mean to cancel a peace treaty? It means a state of war. Does Egypt need war? Now, after the revolution, they would like to put their money into the army and to fight Israel, and probably will be defeated or destroyed, I don't know.
Do you think Israel is going to have to increase its security along the border with Egypt? Put more troops there, build that wall?
We are going to build the fence, this is sure. First we started building it because of the infiltrators from Africa and drugs and all this. Now we understand that terrorists, Palestinian terrorists or even Egyptian terrorists, may come from Sinai and attack Israel through the border with Egypt. It's about 240 kilometers long. There was nothing, it was completely free, but now the center has become dangerous. So we're going to hurry it and finish it in about 18 months.
It's going to be expensive, no?
It is expensive. Security is expensive. You know, Israel dedicate to its military budget about 18% of its budget. 18% of its budget. In Europe, the big countries, France, England, Italy, Belgium, Spain, they only 2 to 5%. So security is expensive.
How did this happen? How, in a matter of 6 months, did the security situation fall apart in the Sinai Peninsula?
It's a very complicated situation. Mubarak did his best to maintain control, absolutely, and he did what he did. Now, after the revolution, after the demonstration, the new temporary regime, military regime, is busy with Cairo, with Egypt, the heart of Egypt. So they lost sight a little bit of Sinai, and also all the security personnel in Arabic, Amn Dawla, the state security was broken and disappeared from Sinai. And you know, such a territory does not accept emptiness. Immediately, a radical organization from Sinai and probably from Iran through Sudan got in and tried to establish a kind of a Islamic base in Sinai, certainly from which to attack Israel, but also it's a threat to Egypt. Absolutely. So what happened the last few months was really very, very serious. There was dozens of attacks on roadblocks of Egyptian security, roadblocks. The town of El Arish was attacked on the 29th of July, and a big radical groups of Islamists tried to occupy it. They fought against a police station during 9 hours. They had heavy guns, modern guns, weapons, whatever. I think that even the people in Cairo were a little bit surprised to see how much force these Islamist groups have accumulated in the last 6 months.